Oh, there you are. Hey.
Yeah.
Nice. Good to see you, man.
You too.
Yeah, well, how's it been going?
Man, to be honest, I'm just staying active. I'm a pretty active dude, you know? And so I've been riding bikes a lot with my son and my daughter. Dude, I did 18 miles the other day with my boy. It was crazy.
Oh, nice.
And I give him more credit because he's on a 1-speed BMX and I'm on a 10-speed beach cruiser. So we don't have like crazy mountains around, but like some of our neighborhoods have incline after incline, you know, and down a little bit. And I was like, it's to the point to where you can't sit down and ride and pedal hard. You know, you would have to eventually stand up at certain points. So, tough little dude. He's only 8.
Nice. Yeah, man, I've been staying super active, honestly. Doing workouts, running. I've been doing a lot of running. I got a bike ride planned. This professor buddy of mine I work with, I've been going into like his garage and using his rowing machine when I can. So, man, I've been staying after it. It's been super productive for me.
Cool. Yeah, I got some dumbbells in the garage. I you know, to each their own on their opinions on doing super secret ninja training and training during quarantine, and then there's people like myself, not just because of opinion and stuff too, but just lack of training partners, and then other people's opinions, you know, sometimes. So I haven't trained since March 12th.
Wow.
Because March 14th was a Saturday, and I was doing Fight to Win Pro. And so I was mid-weight cut on Thursday. Yeah, because Friday was weigh-in. Saturday's the 14th. So, like, Thursday I was already cutting weight, I think 7 pounds. And then I was going to weigh in Friday. I was going to cut another 5. And, yeah, you know, that's when the travel ban happened. And then Seth Daniels had to go.
Yeah. Did you guys have that European event scheduled? Was that going to come up and you had to cancel it?
That was a massive bummer.
Sorry, dude. Sorry to get right into the bad stuff.
No, I know. I've talked a lot. Like some people, to be honest, I haven't talked too much. Like I've talked about me canceling tournaments, but I haven't had a chance to really like tell my side of the story. So far, I have the AGF podcast, you know, and I'm basically just interviewing people, you know, and some of my jiu-jitsu lineage or not lineage, but training, history, techniques, blah, blah, blah. And then experience with AGF, well, what's going on in coronavirus? Like sometimes that'll come out in my podcast, but in reality, it's about them. You know what I mean? But like, if you want to talk about AGF, dude, we got wrecked by this thing, you know? Like,
yeah.
I mean, it was pretty rough. Yeah. That was AGF Luxembourg, March 28th. It's a small little country by France, Germany, the Netherlands, Belgium. It's a little like Rhode Island size type country, you know what I mean, in Europe, but it's a cool little spot, and it's next to Cologne, Germany. It's next to Frankfurt. It's 3 hours from the far side of Belgium, so you'll still get like Brussels and all the main Ghent and Antwerp. You'll get those cities to come to it. We had like 400. I forget the numbers. It's been a while, but we had like 400 people.
That's awesome, man. Wow.
And that was before the final week of registration, where we really get numbers. You know what I mean? And it's like, yeah, dude. So that was going to be a cool event for sure. So yeah, it's a bummer. But I have affiliates in Belgium. My first European black belt is Bert Van Hastelen. He's in Bruges, Belgium. A lot of Americans haven't heard of it, but Colin Farrell made a movie called In Bruges, and so it gave that town a little bit of fame in Belgium. And anyways, so they right now are the worst in Europe in terms of like viruses and stuff. Like Belgium was on top of the list for a while. I don't follow the daily every single day on who's on top of the list, but I know for a while Belgium was on top of the list, and so they're all like, you know, super lockdown. They're talking about gyms not opening until 2021. stuff like that. Like there's a lot of stuff. I mean, if you look at all of our professional sports in America, we did that. No
Yeah.
more.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Not even like, so like, but this is like small men's, their business is different, but it's still a business, like have you been to Europe much at all or no?
I have not been to Europe. Not yet. Been to
Oh.
Mexico a few times. I was one of the things I want to talk to you about later is your travels, man. I know you've been all over, and I had some questions marked down to ask you, but
Sure.
I haven't been to Europe very much, or at all. But it's definitely on the bucket list, man. Since teaching history, I got a checklist of places I want to go.
Yeah.
But what were you saying, man? About Europe? What were we talking about?
Well, the business is different over there. Like the way of life in terms of like the gyms and businesses. Like, so in America, we have 6 a.m. class, 9 a.m. class, 12 o'clock, at different gyms. Not everyone offers day classes, but like it's a predominant thing in America now that we offer that. It's also very, very common for people like myself. I don't know you 100%, but I assume that you 100% of your income comes from the martial arts. Are you all in the martial arts? Do you have a second day job?
Luckily, dude, I have a master's degree in history and I teach college full time.
Oh, awesome.
Full time, which is like 25 hours a week or less. And it's like all online right now because of the pandemic. So fortunately, I got that going on too. But yeah, I mean, other than that, I mean, and that's like Core and I, that's pretty much all we got going on.
Yeah, right. Well, I know I had seen you on social media going through schooling and stuff like that. That was awesome. Some people, I don't know if you don't know if some people just pursue schooling in general, you know what I mean? But that's awesome. But what I was saying though is in Europe, there's not as many people do jiu-jitsu for a living, and not just jiu-jitsu, but like, and without a second job, and without like, and that includes like Muay Thai, MMA. Like the scene is totally different over there in terms of like the business like that. So they also have sport halls, which are like you'll have like a restaurant bar, like literally in the middle where the parents can hang out, and it's like a large restaurant. Like we order our food for AGFs there and that kind of stuff. And they will have like indoor tennis courts and volleyball courts, and they have a couple actually different games that look like volleyball / basketball with a basket, but it's not quite in the American culture at all. It's a Dutch Belgian type thing, and it's co-ed actually. It's a trip. I forget the name of it, but I'll look it up. Anyways, and so they'll have like that. They'll have a weight room. They'll have usually like a karate room or martial arts room, a jiu-jitsu room. Showers, locker rooms, freaking, I mean, it's intense. And almost every city has one of these, right? And so like a lot of the people that I've known and I've taught seminars at, the jiu-jitsu instructor rents out the mat space because I got tatami mats basically, right? Mm-hmm. And so you get a lot of those, and so some guys may get a membership for what we call like $60 for 6 months. You may have some guys who charge 40 euros a month. Nobody's charging 150 euros a month to train just jiu-jitsu, bro. The kids is also different too. Like with AGF standards, we will have like a 80-20 jiu-jitsu tournament. We've really tried to capitalize on that. We try to do a little bit better with that, but hold on, let me grab my coffee.
You're fine.
We try to do a little bit better with that, but like it's their culture, not just the sports culture. So we'll have, what I mean by 80-20 is like if we have 100 competitors, we have 80 of them adults. And so it's like in America, it could be 50-50 or the other way. It could be 70-30 kids in some cities.
Yeah.
And so and that's a big factor. A lot of tournaments don't charge for spectator fees. It's an American thing. It's just different, man. It's different for sure. It's different logistics as well too. Different languages as well. And then generally a lot of people speak English. To be honest, like the whole world speaks English, especially under like 30. But you will get some people, like I've had some people, especially from Poland. Like when I run AGF Berlin, Berlin is like next to the border of Poland. And so like we'll get a lot of Polish people. I had plans to go to Poland in the fall. So I mean everything is slowed down because we can't even get info. We don't know people's guidelines. We don't know when they're reopening up. But a lot of people, to be honest, you have a lot of countries doing their own thing, but a lot of people watch America.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people watch America. It's a trip. But then Poland's got its own thing going on, but a lot of people don't realize, man, they got 2-day tournaments over there and stuff. They got a lot of people doing jiu-jitsu in Poland, bro. You know?
Man, how do you like, okay, so pandemic aside, you're thinking about expanding into European markets, which is a very awesome mindset, man. But how do you get in the mindset to do that? Do you just talk to your black belts and your students over there in the association and start feeling out like, how's the culture? How do you guys do business here? Like, how do you even begin to approach like, I'm going to do business, but it's going to be entirely different, but with my business I do in America, in Europe?
It's I'll be honest, dude, it's a mindset thing. And not to get all trippy on you, all right? But like honestly, I believe in thought projection.
Me too.
I'm a big person in thought projection and then action, you know, like so, you know, I'm sitting there one day and I go, I want to run a tournament in Germany, that would be cool. Well, until I start messaging people and contacting facilities and seeing how much it costs and start seeing what the regulations are and the currency exchange. All you got to do is just put action to your thought. You know, a lot of people are dreamers, bro, but they don't put, but it's also, man, I don't know. It's weird, dude. I've always had like, I've made life changes. I've made life decisions. I've made connections and gone to new places because of just thought projection. I mean, no joke. Like I wanted to go to Italy for a long time. I was studying Italian. Like I just had this thing, you know, like wanted to teach in Italy, and I taught in Italy for 5 years. You know what I mean? Like it's like it's not saying psychic, it's not saying any of that, but like once you start putting, you know, just action to it, a lot of people just daydream about it, and then like, how serious are you about it? I'm a different person though. I've traveled a lot. Prior to AGF, I traveled more than any person pretty much that I've known that's not a BJJ world champion, to be honest. Like it's not like some famous Gracie or some world champion, ultra famous person. Like I've taught in 21 countries. I've taught all over. You know what I mean? And so like, that's like, and if you meet people, you connect, you go to like say I go to a seminar in, for example, I taught a seminar in Belgium, and a dude from the Netherlands came and a dude from Germany came, and then they're like, oh, this dude's jiu-jitsu's cool. I like this guy because we kick it too. I think that's the other thing, you know, like I know my way around Europe, and so, and other parts of the country, and I've just, not country, but other parts of the world, and I know how to get around, I guess, you know. People don't mess with me. I'm heavily tattooed, right? But because I have an affiliate in the Caribbean, in Trinidad and Tobago. That was actually my first ever international seminar and stuff. And then I ended up commentating MMA fights down there.
Yeah. I've seen you going down there. I didn't connect the dots that you had an affiliate, but I've seen you post about going down there for years.
That's my jam, bro. I would consider myself like a low-key eccentric person, I guess. Right? Like you have I like different places as well too, you know? Like one of my places that I got a European annual camp, and it's one of my affiliates. It's one of the coolest places I've ever been. I had never heard of it prior to going there. Now Europeans have. but most Americans have it. It's called Madeira, Portugal. It's an island. In Portuguese, it means wood, Madeira, right? But it's closer to Morocco in Africa slightly more than it is Portugal. It's an island, like way out there by itself. It's the home of Cristiano Ronaldo, the soccer player. So they got like museums and statues for that dude. You know what I'm saying? The capital's Funchal. So I have an affiliate in Funchal, and it's just a dope place. And I'm like, I will keep coming back to this place for sure, you know? And then you make friends, you know? I've got friends all over, bro. Like, that's what I love about jiu-jitsu. Like, in all of this, all of my travels, all of my relationships, my, like, everything is based off of jiu-jitsu. Even if it was some MMA fighter that I cornered, if it was traveling because of jiu-jitsu, if it was AGF, if it's like whatever, man, it's a trip. I get my car fixed sometimes through a jiu-jitsu guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so it's
this podcast is basically because of jiu-jitsu connections, man.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly,
it really is weird. Like, I don't get that out of volleyball. You know, like I don't get that out of I think that there is a little bit of international travel and national travel when it comes to other sports. Don't get me wrong, especially with select. Shoot, when I was a kid, I was born in 82, bro. When I was a kid, you had like your little league, and then if you were good, you were on the all-stars team, you know? And now it's like everyone's select and plays year-round and does private lessons. Like, every sport's crazy, bro. You know, you can play select soccer. I go to tournament in Michigan. It's like, what? You're 11.
I know, man. Those travel teams are wild.
Yeah. You know, but in general, though, most of those sports and most people stay local. Like, my son and my daughter, they play baseball and soccer, and we don't travel out of state for that, you know? So a lot of those local teams still do that locally. But in jiu-jitsu, bro, people will be like, yo, I'm going to Master Worlds in Vegas. I'm going to AGF in Boston. I'm going to AGF Berlin. I mean, we had American dudes in Amsterdam from AGF, from Texas. You know, we've got people that follow us around and stuff, you know? And so it's like, and then other tournaments, it's not just about AGF. It's about, like, just saying that, like, people will travel and make a weekend and do things because of jiu-jitsu. In jiu-jitsu, people will go on vacation and bring a gi. You know,
in there, man. Yeah.
And so, like, that's what's cool about the culture for AGF for sure. Or not AGF, sorry, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, man, like, let's talk about this right here. Like, what did you grew up in Southern California, right? Like,
Yes.
Your whole childhood and teenage years spent there?
Oh yeah, born and raised. Yeah. Now I know it sounds crazy, right? But like, if you know anyone that knows me, I do have some crazy stories. You know what I mean? Like, just like my life is kind of great. I was a combat veteran. I was in an invading year of Iraq. You know, jiu-jitsu, and then I grew up in Los Angeles, and then I live in Texas, and so, like, people are like, wow, it's intense sometimes, you know, and yeah, but my parents are divorced, always back and forth separated when I was a kid, but then eventually they lived completely separate sides of LA, so I can go to different parts. But my dad retired and moved to Texas. His grandpa, he was like 33 years stage manager for The Price is Right, and
wow.
He's got like 35, 36 daytime Emmys, like, literally, because they're given to, like, as a group, like you'll have daytime drama or something like that, whatever they call the soap operas, because he did The Young and the Restless, The Bold and Beautiful, all the CBS television and game shows and soap operas on the West Coast filmed on Beverly and Fairfax. My dad was there for like 35, 40 years. And then he worked a little bit at NBC before that. So that's my dad's side of life. And like, he was the last of my family to move to Texas originally. And so, cause like my brother's out here, my cousins, my mom, you know, and so like they all followed, but like he was the last one. Cause it was like, you know, your grandpa, he retired. It's like, yeah, my kids are, at that time, he moved here 2 years ago. At that time they were 6 and 8. It's like, dude, in 10 years, they're 16 and 18, bro. Like, this is the grandpa years, bro. That you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it's going to be different when they're 18 to 28. They're going to be adults, and who knows where they're at. You're not going to have them every day. You can't pick them up from school. You know, now's the time to be grandpa, you know. So he retired and moved out to Texas. So we got big plans coming up, and it's always fun to hang out with him. Anybody who's ever met my dad knows he's a fedora-wearing, earring kind of awesome dude. You know, at AGF sometimes he does the podium, or he'll work the front, but people don't. He doesn't dress too flashy at that point. But he's always been that charismatic kind of guy in my life for sure. My mom's the complete opposite.
Man, when did you get your start in jiu-jitsu?
14 years old. I started with a guy named David Dunn. He's now like a 4-stripe Jean-Jacques Machado black belt. All the dudes I trained with in Cali were Jean-Jacques Machado black belts. I trained with Eddie Bravo, Jamie Walsh, who I ultimately got my black belt from, and David Dunn. They're all like 3-4 stripe Jean-Jacques black belts. And yeah, man, I mean, that is different too. I have a lot of talks with a couple of my guys about it. I have a few guys that have trained since like the early 2000s and late 90s and stuff, you know, that had trained martial arts a lot. And the game is just so different. Like, I tell people, when I first started, everything was strike-based. Like, you're talking, I think it's 97, I believe, 98 was the first King of the Cage. I went to the first King of the Cage. No joke. I still got the T-shirt, and Chris Brennan fought Joe Daddy Stevenson in it. And now Chris Brennan's my coach in Dallas. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, man, that is OG. I used to love watching Joe Daddy fight, man. He was
Chris Brennan fought Joe Daddy Stevenson, King of the Cage 1 in California. There's a trip. Anyways, and so everything was strike based. It was like a triangle came from like a dude punching you in the guard, and you blocked, and then overhooked, controlled his wrist, shot a triangle. It was stuff based like that, you know. It was very different. I think that's why in terms of jiu-jitsu instruction and students, you know, because every jiu-jitsu gym, instructor, and affiliation has their own subculture. You know what I mean? And so mine has the MMA guys have always liked me, but I've always had the MMA guys that were still willing to put on a gi once a century. You know what I'm saying? That I totally understand that some gentlemen, I have a few guys from me now that have fought in the UFC, let alone like Legacy and Bellator and all those other organizations as well as amateur, you know. And so I understand that, man. It's more than just, oh, he needs to wear a gi and to get his rank. Like, nah, bro. Like, I know his wife and kids. I know this dude's trying to make rent. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're adults here. This guy's literally, this is what he does for a living. Like, so I understand people who train no-gi more because of a profession and because of, you know, if your goal is MMA, then jiu-jitsu is an aspect and a tool of that. You can't command people like to be Jose Aldo and Cabrinha. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can't. So, like, if you're using that as a tool, and cool, you know, just like anything, you're a teacher, you know, you come at me and you're like, you know, he doesn't mind competing every few months or something, but, you know, he's a cop or something. I'm like, all right, well, this dude is going to use jiu-jitsu in the next month if he's a regular PD officer. You know what I'm saying? Like, so, like, you know, like, whatever people's reasoning for it, and I think but I have a massive intrigue for, like, modern jiu-jitsu and bolos and worm guard and everything, you know what I mean? And so, like, the guys that like the gi side or whatever, you know, like, you know, we have fun with that. You know, I go through my own phases too. So, you know, I have games that I naturally do, like rolling, but in reality, I'm such a nerd when it comes to studying. Like, I am an incredible studier. A long time ago, Mark Lehman put out a video on studying, like, and coaching and like how to study people and stuff. And now you got it all break down in videos and stuff like that. But I definitely think that there's like a major responsibility as a coach as well too, because I have an association, and so like I can't have like a complete hole in my game and have somebody underneath me. I just feel like that's a responsibility that I need to like. Is there going to be dudes that are better than me? Yeah, you know what I mean. Like, are they in an area like, let's say worm guard, right? Let's talk worm guard. I've taught that at the last 2 of my annual camps, right? Still got MMA fighters there or stuff like that. And it's like, we're just aware of this. We understand this is what's going on. We need a basic entry. We need to understand, because every game has a push-pull. So we need to understand the 1-2-3 combo that's going on. We need to understand the basic concept of the position and the tie-ups. And then, if you so choose to want to go down that wormhole, we can go down that wormhole. If you don't ever want to pull worm guard again, that's fine. But it won't. The first time you see it won't be the first time that you want to beat somebody and they're putting it on you and you're clueless.
Dude, the first time I got put in worm guard was the very first AGF Arkansas.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'm trying to think of who did it. And I want to say that Levi was the ref. And I wasn't even aware that I was in it, because like I gone back down into his closed guard somehow, but he had like my gi under my leg, like my lapel. And he was like, no, hold on. He had your grip. Like puts me back in worm guard. I was like, dude, I didn't even realize this was happening right now. Like for you to be able to restart it back with him having that grip, that was impressive.
Oh, Levi is I can't say enough about Levi Miles, dude. He's every person is their own. You know what I'm saying? In terms of personality, jiu-jitsu style, all that kind of stuff. But that dude, I taught him as much as I could possibly teach him. He knows everything that I know almost. You know what I mean? Like if I go down a wormhole, he might not know something there. But like in reality, like all of my half guard, butterfly, leg locks, Darce game, back attacks, like all hardcore game, everything that I can do. And teach. If I were to just throw out a rent, I'd like take the back from deep half guard. He would teach it exactly like I would. Like, like he'll have his own flair and stuff, but in terms of the overall technique, he wouldn't screw up. You know what I mean? He's very technical, dude. And so he was one of my best refs as well. It's funny, I just did a podcast with Bruno Bastos on the AGF podcast. And he was my coach for nearly 3 years, and when he was in Dallas at Octagon MMA. And I was saying, man, that's some of the reason that I'm so organized at AGF. Of course, we have, the times and stuff like that, but also why we know the rules, and people come to me know the rules. And I'm like, man, I'm not like, I haven't been to 10 IBJJF ref courses. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just know the rules because like Bruno beat them into us every day. I never had been around a coach in my life that had explained the game so much, explain the game hardcore, and not just, hey, this is 2 points and this is 4, but he would have mentality. He would have, out of bounds. Like we knew all the specifics, and then having all the right grips, because people are going to cheat, a little bit of a turn of an overhook or a better grip or a clamp or 3 more inches on that lapel that wasn't really there. Now it's like cutting off my blood compared to it was perfectly fine to escape, So people are going to cheat their grips on the reset. We got to assume that. That's why we don't reset in a submission and we award 2 points in the middle, is because we can't. And then the explosiveness that's going to happen to catch the sub, it can become more dangerous than maybe where it was controlled when it was swept and caught. You know what I mean?
Are you guys the only ones doing that rule? I like that rule.
2 points.
Yeah.
Nah, buddy, that's been a rule forever since.
I couldn't remember. It's like a normal thing for me now, but I couldn't remember who did it first. I feel like it wasn't always a thing, but maybe it has been. I don't know.
Generally, I would say, like, I put a post out the other day, but like, because there's a lot of people I competed IBJJF like last time was like 2012. Right, and I did a dozen of them. I was in Miami, Chicago, Pan Am's, Nogi Pans, Worlds. We did all that stuff when I was training with Bruno. Okay, and that was like Team Novo and Yao at that time, and Bruno Basso Jiu-Jitsu. And there was a lot of people trying to go to those tournaments. You know what I'm saying? And the difference with those tournaments is like there are harsh disqualifications. There are those kinds of rules got to be known. Doesn't matter what tournament you go to, you got to know the rules so you don't get disqualified. You know what I mean? Like, so that's just part of the game. You will never change a competitor. You know, like if he's a staller, he's a staller. If he's active, he's active. If he's gonna sub hunt, he's gonna sub hunt. If he wants to mount you before he sub hunts, then he's going to try to pass your guard for an hour and not chase the sub. He's going to, you know, so like people are still gonna be the competitor that they are, but you got to at least know the rule set so you don't get disqualified and stuff like that, you know? And so we're just about the rules, man. When IBJJF started evolving, though, and changing their rules, right? Because they were a pretty solid rule set for a while. And then they started, I would say, kind of changing frequently, but also the game changed. Like they had to start coming up with an answer for the honey hole. They had to start coming up with an answer for certain positions. And people, you know, I'm a tournament director, so people are going to talk about other tournaments a certain way in front of me. I'm like, bro, like I was around more tournaments. I still coach other tournaments. You know, I was going to compete in Fight to Win Pro. I mean, I love Seth and the promotion, but there's nothing wrong with other tournaments, you know. And the IBJJF, to me personally, is the gold standard in terms of business, size, following, money. I mean, they're like, well, I want to be making what they're making. Let's get real, right? But so people's opinions change about, you know, I've always liked them as a business role model, right? And organizational wise, Chris and I have also, Carlino and I have both competed in the IBJJF. He actually won blue belt IBJJF Munich. He competed out of country.
Yeah. And he was just on the podcast. I forgot to ask him about. I knew he competed in Europe a couple of times, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I don't know how much he did. He doesn't, maybe once or twice a rank he competed, but he, you know, I forget exactly where. He was a student of mine until purple, and so anyhow, yeah, I forgot where we're at.
What were you saying? You just mentioned him competing in Munich, IBJJF rules.
Yeah, the IBJJF had altered its rules a little bit. Like the Sumigaishi, I made a post about that recently. The Sumigaishi is
I remember that when the head on the outside, they changed that.
Yeah. And so like I'm like that never became illegal when the IBJJF made that illegal. You know, like there's certain things generally though, because you were talking about being out of bounds with 2 points. Generally though, the gi rules, the positions, the sweeps, they're generally the IBJJF, right? The only thing that I would think that is different than the IBJJF is we don't have advantages, obviously, for positional points, right? So we don't have a near guard pass advantage. We have advantages only for sub attempts. I personally would like to change the rules a lot, but you can't ever get – my personal opinion of jiu-jitsu can't get in the way of business, but also there's so many people that believe so many different things. You have this one guy who's going to totally think it's about sub-hunting and tapping your opponent. You got this other guy that will not bring his gym and he brings 60 people to me. But if we make it to where we give 1 point for a sub-attempt instead of an advantage, he won't bring his gym anymore. You know, you get stuff like that. You get I have my personal, like one of the rules that I hate is knee on belly. That is the most ridiculous 2 points in the sport. Like for real, it is. Think about the other 2 point
takedown sweeps,
takedown sweep, right? And those are both super duper hard. You know, like, and there's 2 ways to take down or to sweep, because sweeps and takedowns, a lot of people, when I explain it to refs, are the same thing in my mind. I either have to put you on my back or I have to take you down to all fours and get to your back. Doesn't mean I have to be on your back, but I have to be at your hips or seatbelt or whatnot. Like, so like if I'm in bottom butterfly and I arm drag you and I come up and I have your hips and you're in turtle, I still get 2 points for coming up as a sweep, right? Mm-hmm. So it's the same thing with takedowns. I can either do a single leg and drop you down, or I can do a single leg and you go on all fours and I jump on your hips. Like, so sweeps and takedowns, I teach the rest. So it's the exact same thing. I put you on your back or I get to your hips around your back, one way or the other. And Those are very difficult things to do. It's difficult to sweep. It's difficult to take someone down. I think that's some of the most energy spending in all of jiu-jitsu. And then with the least amount of result, right? Like if I take your back, that's a massive result. The energy spent to get that result is way better. And that's why the back is 4 also, don't get me wrong, is way better than the 2 that it took to get a takedown. Like I don't have always a submission position, you know, like stuff like that. There's different theories in that, but like, anyway, so it's like, you know, I could just be in side control and pop my knee up and get 2 points for knee on belly. It's a cheesy 2, you know. But
and then you get people strategizing like with the, okay, I'm going to go for the ankle pick, go to the knee on belly. That's going to be 4 points. So they start stacking. I've seen Lovato and people do that. Like they really, you know, those competitor guys like IBJJF, they really build it into the strategy of these are the things that go from the sweep to knee on belly. So
I do that as a teacher a lot too. I'll explain that a lot when I teach. I'll be like, this is 2 and 4. So that means I scored 6. The most you can score in jiu-jitsu is 7 with an advantage for a submission. So like, you know, you can pass the guard to mount and get an advantage for subbing. Maybe you were doing a guillotine half guard pass and you passed him to mount and then you lost the guillotine. That would be the highest you could score in all of jiu-jitsu. No matter what major rule set that follows the basic 2, 3, 4 and advantage for subs, that's the highest you can score. And then 6 is a pretty common combination, sweeping to mount or you know, takedown to mount, that kind of stuff, you know. So sweeping to the back or whatever, you know. So 6 happens more often than 7.
Yeah, man. Like when did you start getting into competing yourself and like, you know, ultimately, which has led you down the road to being like one of the biggest tournament organizers in jiu-jitsu? Like, but what started, like, I remember one of the first things I ever heard about you, I saw you just snap a dude with a leg lock before I perceived leg locks to be cool. And somebody was like, that's Brandon Quick. He's the 3rd best leg locker in Texas. Like I remember somebody's like a few people said that about you for some reason. I don't know where it came from or if it's a joke or what.
That's funny. I've never heard the 3rd best. I've never heard the best or the 3rd or anything. I will say this though. So I've always competed. I've never gone. I'm 38, so I'm not like I don't claim to go be doing 20 tournaments a year. You know, I haven't skipped a year of competing since I was in the military. So like, and you're talking 2005, 6, you know what I mean? So like, I've always competed. I've always had a little bit of injuries here and there though, you know? So like September through December, I had freaking 62 total fluid ounces on my knee. I ruptured my bursa sac. Right? So 3 months. I know everyone's complaining about Corona, and I'm like, I did double this like 3 months ago. You know what I'm saying? And
wow. I
did actually go to Europe and teach. I just never stepped my right knee down on the mat. I taught like 6 seminars and ran an AGF. It was a trip, but anyhow, so I've gotten little injuries here and there. Never had major surgery. Got really lucky that I never had to have like ACL surgery or shoulder surgery or something like that. But I have had little, you know, tweaks in 5% tears, 10% tears, you know, both knees. You know, I've got like 24 years of jiu-jitsu on me. So like, it's a lot that my body has. I can feel it, you know, yoga helps, stretching out helps, lifting a little bit of weights helps. I just got back into that. I didn't lift weights for like a decade. I just did a lot of jiu-jitsu. And so, yeah, man. And so like, I just compete when I'm healthy and I go, all right, I'm not going to be injured for a little bit, you know, try and get as much in as you can in the next 3 months or something. You know what I mean? And cause I don't like to go out there and compete broken just to do it. I don't want to be mangled, bro, and walking around. Like, you know, like some dudes are really mangled from jiu-jitsu because they pushed it too far. You know, like if I was a younger competitor, my goal is to be a world champion, I would train my ass off, you know. But I do train a lot in general, like pre-quarantine, you know. Sometimes I'll train twice a day. Sometimes I train 3-4 times a week, you know. But like I'm definitely not just going a week without training. You know what I mean? That's definitely. And so, yeah, I like to test myself and stuff, but I compete, but man, I don't consider myself Mr. Super Competitor. So I've done some fight to win pros. I've done AGFs. I've done IBJJFs. I've competed local stuff in California and Colorado when I was in the Army. You know, but never won Pans or Worlds or anything like that. Did find out that I'm really good at teaching jiu-jitsu and putting it in a systematical format. I would definitely attest that to like Eddie Bravo and John Jock's system, David Dunn, Jamie Walsh's original John Jock Machado black belts, taught in 2-week segments. So like I still do that a lot as well too. I'll teach a subject matter for 2 weeks. And in terms of like, say I'm doing butterfly guard from the bottom, we'll attack that for 2 weeks straight. The ins and outs of it though, you know, so sometimes I'm coming from half guard and I go to butterfly guard and then I sweep. I could do an arm drag from butterfly guard and take your back and go into a choke. I could do a lateral drop that turns into a hook flip, and then we're doing side control stuff. So you can go around the genre of butterfly, but it all touched butterfly in some way. Or you can completely just play, hey, we're just playing butterfly and half butterfly and staying real hardcore in this zone. So, you know, and it depends on the techniques and the genres that you're doing, but I've always felt that that was good. I've never felt that it was good to, and it was good to have names and make your students memorize things. And because when I'm hollering something out at you at a tournament and you don't know what I'm talking about, then why am I even there? You know, so I'm like,
For real.
You should know what an omoplata is. You know, like you don't have to know what every dead orchard, arm bar, go-go plata. You don't have to know every single thing outside of the box. Should you be aware of all that stuff? For sure. But also different things are named differently, different regions and different organizations and the instructors. So like, so what is your instructor calling? That's what you should know. You know what I mean? And so, yeah. And so I like the organization that way, and I've always presented it that way. And so people have really liked that because there's been a lot of people that, especially I found in other countries outside of the US, especially, that teach an armbar and a guard pass. And the next day they teach a back take, and the next day they teach a deli hiva sweep. So they're very disorganized and not put into a format. I mean, this is why I think that the spearhead and the probably millions of dollars that the Gracie Academy has made off of the online training, you know, tens of thousands, 100,000 people have a paid subscription for how much for that? You know what I'm saying? Like, so, but you know, I'm not knocking them. I'm just saying that like, this is why, you know, people started seeing that, you know, there was a lot of people out there training self-taught. I mean, let's get real. A lot of people are self-taught these days. You know what I mean? Like, unless you went every day with that instructor, white through black belt, learned everything from him, there's a lot of people who start teaching and they go through the ranks at a distance, and there's a massive difference training with somebody every 6 months compared to training with someone 6 times a week.
Yeah,
you know?
for sure. That was one of the things actually Cora asked me to ask you about, is like, because I mean, we deal with that. Like, we're in Russellville. We have instructors, coaches, affiliates. We train with people. I trained Bruno Basio 6 months ago. Like, we bring people in. We go do private lessons. We learn all the time. But what are some things that you do that are just like a part of your method? Like, hey, this is how Brandon Quick's going to keep getting better at this.
Well, first of all, humility. You gotta know that you don't know it all, you know? And so like, you know, I'm not the best at everything. And you have to always have that mentality in jiu-jitsu and stay the student. So I go to seminars, I do private lessons with other, whether it be high level dudes. Sometimes I'm like, you know what, who's got the best clock choke in DFW, you know? And I'll do a private with that dude. Training with people, I have a ton of people that come through the headquarters in Dallas because we have guys who fought in the UFC and because we have half a dozen black belts there on any given day. we get a lot of people that come through for multiple reasons. The fighters, me, wrestling season with Bedford. He was an All-American. He also wrestled at Cleveland State. He's a D1 wrestler from the UFC. So, like, he's the current bare knuckle 145 champ, Johnny Bedford. And so, like, people come through for other reasons besides just me, but then I'll get a lot of people. Oh, today we got Kamal Usman's brother. Today we got this dude. It's not to name drop people at all. We have, but it's so you get fresh looks a lot, so which is great. Sometimes you don't always have to travel. Now, I train with Chris Brennan in Frisco, which is like North Dallas. And I'll go over there, and it's a different group of people, and then that's what competition's also for. Sometimes you get good, and you got to go do things in competition or test yourself in competition. But for me, I definitely believe it's like online learning helps. There's so much breakdown today. I can't deny online learning. I mean, there's so much breakdown today that, like, it's about time compression, right? Like, so if I'm going to teach Brian, you took a seminar of mine?
I did, yeah.
What was it?
Deep half.
Deep half. Okay, so I'm going to teach a deep half seminar, and you're not going to just get techniques. You're going to get what I know that I've already gone through the process of throwing out the bad stuff and keeping the good stuff and the best positions and reps and combinations and understand the position and all the time that it took me to train that, do that. Because another thing I do as a black belt, it's just something I do personally. I don't write people's names down. I don't write how many reps I complete, but I will work my way up blue through black belt when I learn a technique, right? So, like, if something stops working at purple belt, it's a purple belt move. It's not going to work on a black belt. Sometimes you want moves that in the heat of battle against the person you want to beat at a time you want to win will work. You don't want a maybe, or if it has any, and not just a maybe, I'm saying if it has an inferiority in it because of the position, or if somebody can easily do this or do that, and it has an inferior crack in that game, then I would throw it out. You know what I mean? I mean, I think there's things out there that will only tap a blue belt. Tap a clueless person. Is that good? Yes, because that's the self-defense side of it. You want to know a self-defense technique? I don't go work on my blue through black belt. They all have jiu-jitsu body language when we roll, And so if I learn a self-defense technique from Pedro Sauer or somebody, you're not saying that I have. I'm just saying, like, say I learn a self-defense technique from a self-defense guru, right? And I want to go try it out. I'm not going to go try it out on my blue and purple belts. They're going to be behaving like they're going to be a deep half guard. There's no deep half guard in the self-defense game. You know what I'm saying? So I would go attempt that on my white belts. They're going to headlock me. They're gonna push on me all crazy and that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? And so the blue through black belts, I would go through and attempt that series on them. When it starts working all the way through black belt, and I landed on a few of my black belts for a while, depending on the techniques, could be a week, it could be 6 months until I consider it valid for myself. But then there's certain things you got to know that are good for big boys. And there's certain things you got to know that are good for flexible people that aren't my attribute. That's what I really like about it. My style for me is my style to me is teacher, for real. Like, I learned jiu-jitsu in order to reteach it. I look at jiu-jitsu, and now it's the next level for me because I have an association and I don't just teach jiu-jitsu every day. I don't actually own a gym anymore. A lot of people don't realize that. I don't physically own a gym. I just have an association, and the AGF is my full-time. And so now my position is teach the teacher, and I think the military really helped me with that. The teach the teacher program is nothing but the military. You know what I mean? And, a captain leads its sergeants leads its soldiers. You know what I mean? Like that kind of stuff, And so, like, how do I teach teachers? How do I get them to – some people weren't taught programs. Some people weren't taught about Zen Planner. So, some people weren't taught about write-offs. Some people weren't taught about organizing your techniques just in general, about adding classes, about multiple streams of income, stuff like that. You know what I mean? If you just go out and open a gym because I love jiu-jitsu, you're not quite ready to open a gym.
Yeah.
You should open a gym when you've got a little bit of dollars and cents that makes sense, and you have an actual plan, an approach, a business plan, and write some things down and be educated about what you're doing, and try to run the business. I made a ton of mistakes in the beginning, for sure.
Me too. Big time.
Yeah. And so just like when you did that deep half guard seminar, you got all that time that I have taken to go blue through black and go through deep half training myself. You get that in an hour and a half to 3 hours. You get the best of what I got, And so now I'm trying to do that as an association and AGF as well, just all aspects of life. Eventually, once you get better at something, then you try and give a better product.
Yeah. Man, when did you decide to start the AGF? Like, what made you kind of decide, like, okay, let's do this? Like, you were just sitting around thinking about it and you took action? Like,
yeah. I moved to Cali from Cali in 2007 to Texas. There's a small town my brother's church actually replanted over in a city called Red Oak, which is next to Waxahachie. It's like 20 minutes south of downtown Dallas. Okay. And I opened a gym there. Long story short, I opened a gym there August 15, 2007. And then, what was it? March 1st, 2008, 6 months later is when I opened my doors. Okay. And had my first gym. And, we did a lot, man. And so I think in 2008-ish, don't quote me on the exact months and years, but that's when Chris Carlino walked in my doors as a student. He got introduced to Jiu-Jitsu by seeing it and that kind of stuff, and then came into looked me up and came into my gym, and we were friends. And he was in the tech side of the industry already, that kind of stuff, right? And man, we did a lot together. We did iPhone applications. One of the very first dudes on iTunes market, bro. A lot of people don't realize that. It's called Killer Apps.
Yeah, he mentioned that on the podcast the other day, Killer Apps.
Yeah, and I just used my technique and at that time popularity. I had just done DVDs and stuff, and I was flying around teaching seminars everywhere, and we used that combination to team up together. And he wrote the app, and I did videos, and we did 9 videos. Actually, Pete Wilhelm did one of the videos. He did one too, right? And it was on his. I think his was on Del But anyways, I was running at that time, painting a picture. At that time, I'm running around reffing every weekend. Levi Miles is like an orange belt, I'm running around the state of Texas, especially Houston. A lot at that time was the jiu-jitsu scene. Sometimes in Dallas, but I was repping. We'd compete. I'd make a couple $100 for the day or whatever, and then we'd drive home. Like it was me, Levi, and Garrett Miles, and Levi's dad, like for 4 or 5 years. You know what I mean? Like we just put in that time doing that. That's another reason I got good. I reffed everything. I became a Naga ref. I reffed for Seth's regular fight to win tournaments instead of not the pro, but the regular tournaments he had in Texas. Everything, man. So many different tournaments out here. It's unreal. But so I reffed a lot, and that was my thing. That was my extra cash, as an instructor. It's like I'm teaching. You got private lessons. You can ref. What else can I do? I can fight MMA. What else I can do? Okay, I can have someone teach kickboxing and offer kickboxing classes. I can have someone teach yoga. I mean, the typical path that new MMA/martial arts, BJJ, whatever school owners go through. You know what I'm saying? But especially BJJ, I could ref and stuff like that, make some extra money, And then I was like, all right, I'm going to try and put on my own tournaments. And so I put on King of the Mats in Texas. And it was at UTA, University of Texas, Arlington. And it was at the college. So I did a couple tournaments. And then I had done another one called Nuwaza Fights. That was an OG one. It was really good. I had Bruno Bastos versus Tussa. Bruno had done a flying armbar on him at ADCC trials in Brazil that I had seen on Facebook. It's one of the reasons I was fan of Bruno. And at that time, Tussa was like a 3-time world champ. And then I had Daniel Almeida. His nickname is Jacare, not the Jacare from UFC, but It's one of Bruno Bastos' black belts. He went against Daniel Pinheiro, which is like where Cole Abadi, he's got a Flow Grappling documentary on that. It's where like Cole Abadi was out of. That's where Thiago Macedo's from. That's where Manuel Hibamar and Natalie De Jesus were at, you know. So like there's a lot of studs that come out of Rodrigo Pinheiro's in San Antonio. So those two did a super fight. And then that dude that I was partners with at that tournament, he was just a white belt that came into my school. A couple months later, he saw what I was doing with tournaments and wanted to help, you know, be a part of it and make some money out of his own. So he was my partner for that. He actually ended up getting busted for fraud on his side of not the tournaments, but just like a whole bunch of other stuff. Like he was fake check writing and all kinds of stuff like that. And I was like, whoa. I was lucky because I had started to catch wind of some of that, and I got super mad at him, had a blow up at an IHOP meeting in Cedar Hill, Texas. And I went home. On the way home, I took myself off the bank account. I was like, screw you, I'm not in business with you no more. You know, like, just he was coming short on checks for a bunch of people, and I was like, what? Right? This is embarrassing. You can't do this. You'll make a bad name for yourself, you know? And so we made sure all the checks were paid. And then I was like, you know, I had a big glow up with him. I was like, we can't do this in the future, bro. I'm sorry. I'd rather just do it without you. I've already done a successful tournament. You know, I don't need you. And then took the name off the account. And then he actually went and wrote hot checks and forged my name. And that's one of the ways that he got caught but not really caught, but a red flag raised. And then that made him get investigated. He got busted for all kinds of stuff. It was crazy. So I was like, man, he actually ended up going to jail. It's a crazy story. And people knew him. He was a student, a guy in the community, you know what I mean? And then, but I was totally clean of it. I had nothing. I would have gotten in trouble with it because it was federal. You know what I mean? It was fake check cash writing. They got him for RICO, organized RICO. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. RICO law.
Crazy side story. I'm clean of it, so I don't care. I'll tell the story. I'm not embarrassed of it. But he had people in different check cash writing facilities in different states, Dallas, Austin, Houston, Shreveport, Louisiana, Oklahoma City, and they knew that he was writing hot checks, and so they would be the one to cash it for him, right? And they would get a piece of it. So you had all these people in different check cashing facilities that were connected in different states. And then he had got caught 10 years prior for like credit card fraud and check cashing, whatever, that kind of similar stuff 10 years prior. So which makes it, if you do it 10 years prior, that's how they can make it under the RICO Act. And he got popped and went away, dude. It was crazy. It was like, what? I didn't know anything about him like that on that kind of you can only get to know people so well sometimes, you know. And he was just a white belt student. We didn't hang out and party, and we weren't doing all that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? It wasn't one of those. It was just a dude who saw money in the industry, you know. I had another student help open up a jiu-jitsu school with me that, you know, in Cedar Hill that Levi taught at. You know, I've gone into business with several people, you know, and then sometimes you just run into a bad apple, bro. You know?
Oh, people, man, it's gonna happen.
Yeah, you never know. And so I mean, we've gotten screwed over by event organizers in Atlanta at AGF before.
Yeah, Chris talked about that on the show.
Yeah, Chris and I, dude. See, that's the one thing about Chris and I. We know we're not going to screw each other over. We've been in business with each other for so long. You know, we talk Facebook, text, phone call, freaking. When do we get wild hair up our butts about some idea? You know, like Chris is my business partner. You know, like we argue, we do everything. You know, we go fly and do weekends in different cities. We've trained together. We're both black belts. Like we definitely, he's my partner, so I don't have to worry about him. I don't worry about Chris at all. I don't worry about him skimming money. I don't worry about him, you know what I mean? Right. Doing anything. You know, Chris is a good person to me, you know, and he knows that I'm not going to screw him over. And also we do things to be organized in the business. He says he's going to do this and this. I'm going to do this and this, and we both go and get them done. You know what I mean? And then, hey, did you do that? Yeah. And then send it to each other. You know what I mean? Like, so like you have to do that at a certain point. If you're not on point. Chris even got me on an app before that's organizes your Gmails into one conversations that you can have. So I can have conversations with different people about an email within that email, and they can't see it, like, so it's not just about hiding, but it's like, say it's a university in Nashville, Tennessee. She sends me the contract, and she's got a $700 medical fee on there. Chris and I can have a sub conversation and talk about, like, hey, we'd rather use our own medic. Can we ask if we could use our own medic, or do we have to use theirs? Blah, blah. So we can have these sub conversations, and then I can hit reply to that actual person. You know what I mean? So, like, you just got to become organized. That's the bigger your business gets, the busier your life gets, the more organized you got to become.
Yeah, for sure.
And so I was, then I started apps with Chris, Killer Apps. And then eventually we started running enough tournaments that were really successful, and started going out of state to Oklahoma City. We started, expanding, and it was like, we should probably rebrand and change this to something more professional than Killer Apps. You know what I mean? So, and then and the AGF just kept going from there and there. And now we got several locations of storage. I didn't listen to Chris's podcast, but did he talk about that or no?
His episode's coming out tomorrow or something. But yeah, he went into some new things you guys have on the horizon. And that was one thing I was going to hit you up about, is like, man, I know you guys are a super interesting complement to each other. And maybe that's a reason why you get so much done. Like, it's like you're kind of like a fill in the blank. Like, Chris has got this stuff, you've got this stuff, you put that together, it's created this awesome thing. And Chris kind of on the show, he talked about some things that he's working on his side for the future, mostly like customer service related stuff, about just making things more efficient. And I was like, man, I get that. Like, just some of the things he was saying about how things he's putting in place that are going to reduce, like, people are basically going to be like, fill out a form. This is my name. This is my belt. This is my turn. Like, before that, the digital ping pong, man, I'm playing that with students right now so much because it's online teaching. But he went into some things that he's working on. What are some things you're working on about for the future of AGF?
Man, that's interesting that you say that, because Chris and I did a podcast with each other right when all this quarantine started. And basically we talked about all that. We talked about, some of the background app/software that Chris has got going on in the background. And I'm like, we didn't even talk about what I'm doing, what we're doing with the business. Like, there's a certain level of secrecy that Chris and I keep out of embarrassment. And what I mean by that is, I don't want to say we got AGF Poland coming up, and then we don't have a facility secured, or something's got to change and blah, blah. And I'm like, oh, we shouldn't have said we got AGF Poland coming up here, or something. You know what I mean? Whatever. So, like, we want to make sure that what we're doing is it's 100%. We're usually, when something's there or a city's announced or something like that, that means a lease has been signed. So, like, yeah, we're coming to Colorado, and we're coming to Denver. We're coming in the fall, but it's like, we haven't put out that we're coming October 19th or something like that. You know what I mean? So sometimes we don't put out a lot of the cities that we're going to and what we're working on. And I'm pretty much completely in charge of the international side. Now, Chris helps out with some of the financing and communications and some of the inventory, that kind of stuff that happens with Antonio. He's my guy in Belgium. He's a Robin Gracie black belt. He's our tournament director, for lack of better words, in Europe. So he speaks 7 languages. He's an event organizer and stuff like that. Does different things for musicians in Europe, and he's based out of Belgium. So he's in the Netherlands, Germany, France, all that stuff. I mean, it's really not far, dude. You can go all the way to Italy in 8 hours, and like, that's nothing to us. We'll do that anyways. To them, it's like the other side of God's green earth. You know what I mean? I'm like, what, bro? Get in the car. We're going.
For real, man. I've driven to California from Arkansas. It's like 24 hours.
Well, I mean, just on a typical, like, we have a storage facility in Chris's city in Waxahachie, Texas, which is, like I said, 20 minutes south of Dallas. So call it Dallas, Texas. So if there's a tournament in Wichita, we're driving 5 hours. There's a tournament in Conway, we're driving 6 hours. There's a tournament, there's sometimes we got a tournament in Montana, you're driving 18. You know what I mean? Like, so, and then we plan ahead so in case anything happens to the truck. But anyway, so yeah, so getting back to the original question of what's going on with me. So we have several different plans, and it takes a process. Now we've got a little bit of a process we've learned about going international, right? So you have different tax laws and regulations and customs and currency exchange, and then, you know, little things to me, little things literally like a foreign language is the last thing on my list. Like, I don't care if you speak Chinese, Polish, or French, right? And to go run a tournament there, I need to know how much the facility is, blah, blah, blah. At a certain point right now, it's like I'm back to our original point of the tournaments, and we were renting mats. A lot of tournaments, when they first start out, they rent mats. So, like, we were renting mats in Europe. Where this fall, we're supposed to purchase our own. I mean, it's like $30,000 or something like that. So get 8 mats, let alone 10 or 12. You know what I mean? And so logoed out and flexi mats, the new way to go, all that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? So like, yeah. So we were still renting, and that's part of the process. Like, you know, all right, do I get the mats over here on that date? Are there mats available? I mean, doing a tournament, like, for example, I've got Israel in the works, right? So like Israel, Brazil, we were supposed to be in this summer. We're supposed to be in Tijuca in Brazil, bro. Like for me, like, that's a huge thing to go where Worlds used to be for Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu World Championships. You know, I tell
That'd be crazy, man. That's awesome.
Yeah, I tell Brazilians that, and they're like, "Oh, you going to Rio?" You know, like that. I think it'll make a big impact to go down there. But some of the negatives of going down there are different too, right? It's forward now. It's 5 reais to $1 American dollar. Like, what's the point of us going to Rio? Like, just to stroke our ego and say we did it? Because, like, I'm going to make 30 cents on the dollar, bro. You know? Not even that, 20 cents. You know what I mean? Like, so what's the point of doing this? Is it just to go do it? Is it to have a vacation? Do we just say screw it and say, yeah, it's a cool-ass fucking place to go, and we earned it. This is what we do, and we're going to go to Rio twice a year, you know? So, I mean, there's a couple ways to look at that, you know what I mean? But always it's because what we do for a living, that, yeah, we're trying to make financial gain out of it. We both have kids, Chris and I, you know, and it's what we do for a living. And so, like I said, I don't own a gym anymore, you know, so I'm all into AGF. Went in a long time ago. And anyway, so Poland is definitely on the radar big time. 2 or 3 different cities, definitely, I should say, or 3 different cities in Germany. Germany's a big country. December, we had France coming up. We already had that facility booked. That's December 5th. We're just leaving that on the books. We don't know if it's going to go through or not. We don't know what France is. We don't know what the market's going to look like. We don't know when people are going to go back training full time, blah, blah, blah. But it's still on the record. Portugal and Italy are I was already in talks with people in Torino. Bro, I have FaceTime with a facility in Manila, Philippines. I have looked at running a tournament in Kuala Lumpur or Singapore. You know, I'm supposed to go out there in August to teach a 4 or 5 days worth of seminars. I was going to take my lady out to Bali or Thailand after the seminars in Kuala Lumpur. And well, I'm like, I got friends there. How much is it to run a tournament? You know, Tom Davey, who's a Carlos Machado black belt YouTube guy named Tom Davey, kind of tall dudes, tattoos. He's on YouTube a lot. He's from Australia. I talked to him about running AGF Australia, you know. And Bruno Mendes, the president of Soul Fighters, Chiquinho's brother, out of Dallas, he's my connection to Brazil. He was a logistics director for the IBJJF. He's a very organized guy, that kind of stuff. We got our licenses, bank account, all that kind of good stuff for Brazil so we can have the hey-eyes. And this coronavirus put us behind. But I mean, we're supposed to do 2 the first year and 5 the next in Brazil. You know, all it is thought process. It's like, okay, we got Sao Paulo, we got Rio, we got Brasilia, we got Fortaleza, Belo Horizonte. Like, what do you want to do? And it was a good friend of mine named Fabio Costa from Gracie Barra. He's in Georgia. I was in Brasilia, Brazil, cornering Johnny Bedford when he fought Hani Yaya in Brasilia, Brazil in the UFC. I was cornering him, and we stayed there a week and went to restaurants and stayed there and out to the club. I mean, you name it. We had fun in Brazil. And Fabio Costa was very nice. He was basically our I don't want to say tour guide because that sounds cheesy, but I mean, we've been friends ever since. I've stayed at his house in America. He's in Kennesaw, Georgia. And so I was talking to him about expanding to Brazil, and I wasn't too keen on the fact of going down there for less money. You know, I was organizing Lima, Peru before, and it's just like, man, Lima's money is not going to equal to our money. It's not worth it to waste a weekend where we could be in Nashville, Tennessee or Arkansas or something like that making money, you know? And then it turns out, Fabio says, you know, why are you trying to be a millionaire with hey eyes in America? Why not keep your hey eyes and keep your money in Brazil? And I was like, and that has always resonated with me. And so like that's what we started thinking, like keep our currency that we're operating in. And that currency you could pay. One is easy because you could just pay the bills and stuff like that. And that, you know, we run a tournament Euro dollars. It's good for us because the Euro dollar is more than the American dollar. So we're cashing in off the Euro dollar. But like when it comes to reais or pesos or even the Australian dollar is 1.4 to 1 American dollar. So we're losing money by going to Australia. And that is far. It's 12 hours between like Brisbane, Melbourne, Sydney. Perth is on the other side. I'm probably not even going to Perth. It's literally California, and Brisbane, Sydney, Melbourne is like Florida, Georgia, and Washington, D.C. They're so spread out, the big cities, you know, and so it's going to be hard to navigate some of that. But it's like, you know, how much do we want to go swamp that market with 12 tournaments a year when we're not making as much as we make in America? You know, West Coast is another part of our expansion. You know, we don't want to put names out there, but and what we're doing, like I said, too early, but we got the West Coast coming up. And, you know, we potentially would like to be running 4 to 6 tournaments in North America on the same day without effect. You know, there's nothing wrong with running one in Dallas and running one in Chicago, running one in New York, running one in Miami, running one in Seattle, one in San Diego.
Wow.
You know,
yeah.
Right now we already have Germany, Atlanta, and Dallas able to happen on the same day. Chris and I have been doing double tournament days for, I think, maybe a year now, something like that. You know, and that's where we're at. Like, we talked the other day, and it was like, man, if it wasn't for this, it was one tournament, I think. Maybe it was, because I went and competed in Oklahoma City. I wouldn't have seen Chris till like September. Not without intentionally going to his house. Just because I would have gone to a different city, or maybe I would have had one weekend off and he would have gone to Phoenix or something and I wouldn't have because I've done 2 prior tournaments out of state, you know? So like sometimes we'll do tournaments the same day and then sometimes we'll alternate tournaments because of travel and weekend. We both, like I said, we both got kids, you know? Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's definitely a goal to go worldwide like that, you know, and then have property, real estate is the end goal, you know, in each one of those countries.
And was it, I think you were one of the first people I remember, and I just completed this book and I'm on the second one, but were you one of the first guys I think I remember talking about Rich Dad, Poor Dad? Is that true?
All day, dude. All day.
Yeah, man, I'm big into that right now.
Yeah. Multiple streams of income.
Yeah. Have you done more than just the original book? There's like so many books. I thought it was just one book, and then I was like, oh, I'm doing Financial IQ right now.
Oh, yeah. No, I do that as a kickoff. You know, you got to have a home base for people that are getting introduced to it.
Yeah.
So, definitely. So I've done a few, but it was a while ago, and that was my really like my kickoff as to like, you know, if you have one thing that is bringing you money and you lose that one thing, you are screwed. People are learning that lesson right now. Mm-hmm. You know, People are learning that lesson right now, unfortunately. And so, you know, that's what's important, you know, and also it brings cash. It brings something might grow bigger than another thing. Some people don't realize that. Sometimes your side job turns into your main gig and you hit the jackpot, you know? So, like me, you know, I thought I was going to teach until I was 70, you know, like, and it's another reason why I really plug in this iPad. Hold on. It's another reason why I really went towards AGF. I mean, I don't want to hurt anyone's feelings or anything, but there's a big eye opener for me with only teaching jiu-jitsu for a profession. You know, like, unless you have a booming school and you know, like perfect location or something, but it's scary to me when I really look at it, because we're entrepreneurs, right? So I don't have I'm a firefighter or a cop, pension and the 20-year retirement or even the 40-year retirement. Like, I don't have that. Like, I have to pay for my own 401ks, my own savings, my own whatever I buy. You know, like sometimes I have to purchase things completely instead of, you know, payments or something, like whatever, you know, like as an entrepreneur, you do life a little bit different than people who just work a steady job, you know, with benefits. And so, you know, that got me thinking a long time ago. And that's why I said I was running around reffing. I've done DVDs, I've done apps. The DVDs were the number one thing to happen to me. That's for sure. The DVDs, they were huge. I don't
You do those with Budo videos?
Yes, I've done a couple sets with Budo videos though.
I'm trying to have Budo Jake on the podcast. He knows my buddy Jack, and I reached out to him. I'm waiting to hear back.
Oh, he's definitely a personal friend. I could text that. But yeah, man, that's what really sent me around teaching was those DVDs and some of the apps. But yeah, in 2007, I started teaching in Trinidad, and that was based off of meeting a gentleman in Los Angeles that I was training Krav Maga with. And so that was one rare instance where the DVDs in the beginning, the DVDs don't always bring me somewhere now, you know, but in the beginning, that was one of the rare instances that the DVDs didn't bring me somewhere. So, and there was a few countries that I taught in, no beef, no drama, nothing like that, but like I taught there for 3 to 5 years, you know, every 3 months, 6 months, a year. You go in and you teach, you know, because maybe I'm not the affiliate owner. I'm not, you know, like maybe they're a different organization, you know, so like I'm not permanently connected to that school, you know. There's a few places I taught, man, that were like amazing. I cherish that time, and I just don't necessarily go back there anymore, you know. Yeah, I really enjoy travel. I think it's changed everything about me mentally, politically, spiritually, emotionally, worldwide, human connections, like everything for me. And like that is about that travel.
Where's your favorite place you've gone, man? I know you've gone all over. Is there a place you just like, I'm never going to stop going there? You frequent, your favorite place to go, favorite place you've been?
Well, so I get asked that a lot. Right, especially my students, because a mile down the street is my headquarters, where, like I said, half a dozen of my black belts are and that kind of stuff. And the thing about the travel is like, what's your favorite part about it? With what you're doing, are you there for food? Was it like some people like Doug Frey? He's an MMA fighter. His wife fights MMA. You know what I'm talking about? Jin Yu Phrase is his wife. She's a female MMA fighter. You might know that. Your lady fights, right? And they like rock climbing and mountain climbing in cold weather and blah, blah, blah. Some people like beaches only. Some people will go to Italy just for the food. Some people go for the sights. So it's really about like what you're into. And I think in some places I would live at. Some places I would just visit. Some places are party towns. Some people are relaxationville, you know, like, so some places are food. Like, nobody's got better food than them. I'm sorry. Man, actual Italian. I can come back and go to all the little dive Italian restaurants and Olive Gardens or whatever I do every time when I come back, and it doesn't come close. So
check this out. Okay, I always like blowing people's mind with this story. Pizza came with Marco Polo from China.
Oh, spaghetti too.
Yeah, like a ton of food came with his interactions with Kublai.
Yes, for sure. But it just wasn't flavored the same. It was tomato paste.
It's changed a lot.
It was tomato paste and noodles and tomato paste and bread, and then You know, the Italians got a hold of it with cheese and that kind of stuff. And so, that was an awesome experience going to Italy. I love Amsterdam. We have our European Championships there. This is our 3rd year there, 4th year. We've been going to Amsterdam for a while. It's a really cool town. I liked Brazil. I don't want to live there. I would go back. You know, like my lady, she really likes tropical destinations. You know, so that's why we're looking at like going to Thailand and that kind of good stuff. You know, with Kuala Lumpur. So you know, it's just really. I don't have a favorite place. I like visiting different styles and different places. You know, my headquarters in Europe is Belgium, and it can be cold, rainy, and you walk in it a lot. You know, like it's. I've never been so cold in my life training because some of the facilities in Belgium, dude.
Yeah.
So in Sweden too. I taught in Sweden. I've been in apartments with heated floors, heated towel racks. We're up in Gävle in Sandviken. I taught there for a few years. It's a couple hours north of Stockholm. It's up by the Arctic Circle.
You sent me a seminar of you teaching a deep half seminar there, I believe.
Yes,
that's an interesting word. I haven't forgot. It's like Galve or something like that, right?
Pronounced Gävle.
Yeah.
Gävle. Yeah, and Sandviken's a city right next to it. Sandviken's in Texas. It's in Brazil. It's all over the world. I think it's one of the top 3 steel companies in the world. So, and it's called Sandvik, is the steel company. And Sandviken's the city that it's in. So that's how it got its name. And Gävle is like 15 minutes away. And so I was teaching in Sandviken for a while, and some of the guys there rolled in Gävle. And so I got seminars over in Gävle. And so I taught there half dozen times or something. I don't know. I taught deep half and back attacks and takedowns and spider guard, and I taught all kinds of stuff over there.
Man, on that deep half, you showed something you didn't show at the seminar I took you for, but like where it's like the technical stand up, but you stood on their calf.
Oh,
like, yeah. But I'd never seen it done that way, and I was like, score. Dude,
Jamie Walsh, he's not famous. He's who gave me my black belt. He fought King of the Cage. He's Jean-Jacques Machado black belt. He's a stud. His time frame was like, I'd say 02 to 05, 03 to 06. That was his days where he was real hardcore in competition as a black belt. But if you ever see Eddie Bravo submit Royler Gracie, right, in Brazil, and he's walking around, his hands are up, and he goes and hugs that blonde guy, that's Jamie Walsh. Jamie Walsh said he's buddy and training partner, right?
Awesome.
Anyways, he used to step on people a lot. At Jean-Jacques, he would step on BJ Penn's leg, like, because BJ was so flexible. He was one of the, and now that's a part of his game. He does have to pass guard, and then he steps right into the knee on belly. He steps right over. He switches. He leg drags. He does all that open guard passing. And now you see the Rotolo twins. Have you seen them doing their leg stepping game?
Yes, I have.
That's exactly. If you ask Levi about stepping on the legs, he would. I don't do it a bunch, but I've taught it just to repeat what Jamie's taught me. You know what I mean? And then he's come and taught seminars at my gyms before too, and that's a big part of the game, man. Stepping on it, and so like I've taken that in other places in my game that I've really realized if they're on their knee and you step on their calf, that you'll stand up first and they won't get up, you know, and you come up into a leg splitting position when you stand. It's a beneficial move for sure.
Yeah, it's super cool. Like I said, I'd never seen it, but thanks for the link. It was like a private or like one of those YouTube playlists. You got to share the link with somebody. And after I'd gone to that seminar, you're like, hey, dude, just a little more right here. So,
yeah.
You know.
That's what I know for sure. That's what I've always done. Like I have affiliates in other places, and, you know, they don't train with me every day. So we do the 2-week segment, you know, and I have been doing the online passing of information for a while. Like the coronavirus has got a lot of coaches finally in tune with their students and with their other coaches online, you know. Like, so my whole organization gets a curriculum. Say it's omoplata, right? We're all doing omoplata at the same time frame. So we could talk about it, put out videos at the same time. You'll notice, I don't know if you noticed or not, but Maxime, he's one of my black belts. He's all tied up on the face and hands. He's Polish, but he's out of Belgium. He teaches a lot on my YouTube, and he's very active on there. He's a squid worm guard Gubber guard. He's that guy in the network for sure. But we're connected that way, so all of our minds are working on the same subject matter at the same time. If you're on half guard and I'm on sweeping and I'm on mount and this dude's on guillotines, like we're on the same team, but we're not on the same wavelength, you know. And so you know, that way we can talk about it, be about it, and I've been doing that for a while, you know. And so it's unfortunate something like coronavirus had to get some coaches to catch up to this, you know. And
man.
We don't do as much Zoom pre-corona with my affiliates as is now that's going on. But you know, we've always been connected. We have a private group, and I give out curriculum. I'm real big on curriculum and you know, staying on the same subject matter. Some people, if we're on omoplata and your school is a gi dominant school, you're probably going to hold the collar more and do some sleeve setups and stuff like that. And if this school is MMA and their concentration is primarily using jiu-jitsu for MMA, they're probably going to do more overhook setups, the omoplata, Williams guard, you know, possibly rubber, possibly just regular classic old school, you know, omoplata. You know, if you have another school that's going to be, you know, coming up in their advanced class, I'd like to teach them some variations of omos and stuff like that they can. But so everyone's on maybe using the general subject. So it's not like you got to teach like a robot with me, and you can only teach. Like I'll give out playlists of videos, and I organize them, and then I'll give out suggestions, give out warm-up drill suggestions, give out cool-down suggestions. Hey, change your warm-up drill. Hey, add, you know, like I know it sounds funny, but like add some push-ups. Once in a while, I'll do that because usually I'm a functional warm-up. Do drills like this. If you're going to be doing knee on belly, then do spinning arm bars from knee on belly as a warm-up. Do X passes from open guard to knee on belly. Like, do functional warm-ups because the average person only comes 2-3 days a week to jiu-jitsu. Everyone's not a pro grappler. They're not all in it 6 days a week like the instructor and just soaking up knee on belly for 2 weeks because their brains are on it and they're teaching it. I'm like, this dude's behind a desk every day. This dude's a firefighter. Like, you know, like, so if you only got them for an hour and a half, whatever that school teaches, then you need to get after it and not waste your time on running circles and jumping jacks and push-ups and useless exercises for the time. You still need to warm up, still need to exercise, but do it with something that has to do with the jiu-jitsu that you're doing, you know?
Yeah, man, at our school, we've been over the last, like right before the close down, we got through 4 of them, but we started doing the 10th planet warm-ups. I mean, it's taken us a while to integrate the 8 through, like the first 8 that they've come up with. But I mean, man, nothing but beneficial in the 3-4 months we did it. Nothing but beneficial.
Yeah, it connects people. It connects you. You know what I'm saying? It connects the game. You have a path. You know, you got to have a path. I teach seminars called like Path to Blue Belt, Path to Gray Belt. Like you got to have a direction in the path. You don't want to just learn one part of the game or not connect the part of the game. That's some of the hard part about beginners. They don't know what to do next.
Yeah.
You know, so like if they have a path somewhat and they know what to do next, they can keep rolling or not get frustrated or not get caught up thinking so damn much. They can have at least, you know, even if it's a crappy fight, they can have a good fight.
Yeah.
For beginners, for sure. But for advanced people, dude, you know, I believe in trap systems. So like trap system warm-ups and drills and stuff like that to me are very important. If you were to come to my class, we are going to do several drills. And we're going to do them in a couple different formats. One is going to be singular technique drills, okay? And then they pyramid. So like we're going to set it on 2-minute intervals, and we're going to do X passes from open guard. And then the next person goes. And then the next person, when it comes back, they're going to add an arm bar, a spinning arm bar. So they're going to go X pass, spinning arm bar, X pass, spinning arm bar, X pass, spinning arm bar. And the person that is getting the arm bar done to them, they're not just going to throw their feet back up. Like they're going to post on one hand, defend themselves with the other hand, sit in butterfly guard, and sit up properly like they should. And the person that's going to do the X pass is going to push your shoulders, push you on your back, and then proceed to X pass. So like even within the movements, there's no wasted movements. You see what I'm saying? Some people are like X pass, and then all right, the guy turns and faces, The guy just gets up off of his X pass, gets in front of his partner's feet, and does it again. You know, like you've got that style of drilling the X pass, or you have like perfect drilling. You know, you push me down, you come forward, you step in, you X pass, and then when you step off me from the knee on belly, I'm going to sit up and sit to butterfly like I should, and push my shoulders. So I think that's a little lost gem that people don't do. You have those two versions of drilling, and I think that you should have no wasted movements, right? And so then maybe we do X pass to arm bar, and the guy does a arm bar stack defense, or they can keep going down the line like that. Or I can just continue to do stuff from knee on belly. I can X pass, then go to knee on belly, then keep more. I can X pass, go to guards. I can X pass. You can stay in that game, you know. So we'll do that 2 to 3 minute drills, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth for a while. In my probably like the first 20 minutes of class are like that with me. Yeah, and so we just drill that quickly, and then I'll break into a technique, and then we positionally fight. That's a huge difference that I see at other schools and that I've been around. I've trained underneath a few instructors, and I've been to several classes. I've been around the game a long time, and that is a huge part, positional fighting. If you and I, for example, Brian and I are doing deep half guard, and we drill deep half, and then we go roll, we could roll 5 times and never hit deep half guard, you know? And so to force someone to do goal-orientated positional fighting really puts them in that game for that amount of time and perfects that area a lot more. This is where defense is going to raise. You'll hear the Danaher Death Squad guys. You'll hear people like John Jock in the old school, super self-defense, Machado, Gracie type dudes that can escape anything, survive anything, come back and win. You know, you have those guys that both genres speak about how when their defense is really good, you have more confidence to go for things. You know, and so I think defense gets really good in positional fighting. You don't get good defense by you doing 6 rounds every night after your coach does a funky warm-up. Even if it's a functional warm-up, even if it's the best warm-up in the world and it's connected to your technique, and then you don't do positional fighting ever, you don't really get time in that area. So, you know, I have certain things that are too close to submissions that I don't want people to get hurt, you know. But I mean, yeah, we'll start from the triangle, we'll start from armbar, we'll start from omoplatas, we'll start on the back. We'll do a lot of pass versus sweep. That's my biggest thing, like, because I get a lot of visitors at the advanced class that I teach. I teach twice a week over there at Fitness Fight Factory, and I'll get dudes that come through a lot, and that's the biggest, fastest way that I'll expose somebody. It's just pass versus sweep, and you're allowed to take the back. So I'm on top, I pass your guard, or take the back, and you're on bottom, you can sweep or take the back. Without subs. I quickly footlock you, I don't really see your game. And I can see your actual skill in jiu-jitsu. Sometimes, in my opinion, if I can take out the subs a little bit, I can see if you can actually pass the guard, if you can actually pass, if you can sweep from the guard, or if you're just going to frame and try and stand up out of half guard. All right, this dude's not sweeping. This dude's just an MMA fighter who's just standing up. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
All right, pass or sweep. You're not just getting up. So now I want you to sweep, son. Okay, let's see how you do this, you know? And then they start getting after it, and then you start to expose people's games real good. Or they're doing the same thing over and over. You see it work. You see it work on a few different people. Oh, damn, he swept me. He swept Levi. He swept this guy. This dude's got a good single X or something. You know what I mean? So you'll be able to see that stuff right away. We do that a lot. And then and we'll do it in different positions. Side control, don't let the guy mount you. And then top back and sub you too. Like, we'll do different drills like that. And then there's free rolling. You know, I think that's important.
Yeah, man. And that was one of the changes we'd made. I just bought a new facility 2 weeks before the close down, but our new schedule was just about to start. We're like 1 week and we're going to start, but that is something, a shift I made. It was like, look, free rolling is after the normal class. Like, that's something I picked up on a lot of people are doing. They're doing like what you're saying in class. And then it's like, yeah, okay, class is over. See you guys later. Free rolling part of class starts now for everybody that wants to stay.
I learned that for the first time when I trained at Gracie Barra, Brazil. I didn't realize that Gracie Barra, a lot of the major organizations are like that. They have a full warm-up educational class, blah, 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 even sometimes positional sparring too, and that's that. hour, and then the next half hour is rolling.
Yeah, that's what we're gonna be doing. I'm excited about it.
And they just put on the bell, and there's no ego or questioning or anything, because you don't know if this dude has a heart arrhythmia. You don't know if this dude's having a bad day. You don't know if he's just coming back, whatever the case may be. So you can sit out and sit against the wall and not roll, or just watch during the rounds, and then you can come back in to roll. So like you could roll 3 or 4 rounds, sit against the wall, take a break, and come in the next round. And so it's not like a lot of schools where they dictated like, hey, you roll with this person, or hey, we're all rolling this amount of rounds. So an old dude can take a break if he wanted. Mm-hmm. The younger me, the dude in the 20s, when I first went to school, I would have harped at him, like, get on the mats. Now I give the older dudes a break now that I'm 38. You know, like
yeah.
And so I really was introduced to that. So you guys are going to go with that format. Do you guys have a all levels class, a basics class? What do you have?
Yeah, that's kind of like the new shift is like, here's the fundamentals class is going to be here. And then one thing we're going to start doing, I got this idea from Omar, is once a week for all our programs, morning, noon, and night, after one of the classes. So one night a week or one afternoon, we're not going to do that exact format, but we're going to do like a systems class. Like where Omar is just like, dude, all we're doing right now is Lachlan Giles's blah, blah, blah.
Oh,
or, you know, and man, Omar said he's been having good turnout with that. And I've kind of kept up with him. He's been doing it ever since Donaher's leg locks came out, but that's just like an intensive study of some advanced stuff.
That's it. That's advanced jiu-jitsu. Every time I teach advanced jiu-jitsu for me, though, like I stay on the same genre for a while. Like, you know, like we're doing Barrett Yoshida's crucifix system for a few weeks. We're doing rubber guard for a few weeks. We're doing worm guard for a few weeks. So that the advanced class a couple times a week. That's what we stick to, and it's gi and no-gi too, so they see both sides of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
man, we're just, I think, getting to the size and stage where we can start doing this with our schedule. We're about to have Cora's about probably 9 months away from getting promoted to black belt, and then we were going to have our first 2 people promoted to black belt aside from myself.
Oh, that's dope.
April 30th. So
nice.
I got 5 brown belts that are loaded in the hopper, and it's so we're, you know, we've been around long enough. I opened my school in 2012.
Yes,
had suits in. So, but yeah, man, it's
that's exciting.
It is. I'm pumped about getting back to it, man.
Now, for those people you talk about getting promoted out of your school, are they going to be promoted by your instructor? Or did you pretty much teach them the whole time?
I taught him the whole time, but for this batch, I will bring in my instructor to promote him, which is Danny Dring. Just, I'm getting my first degree sometime. I've been a black belt for over 2 years, so I assume my first degree will come sometime next year. And you know, we'll like the next crew after these initial 5, we'll probably be handled differently, but who knows? You know, I'll see. Yeah. Like it's going to be a couple of years at least, probably before we do another promotion.
Yeah. I did my first 5 on the same day.
Nice. You know, with the shutdown, we may end up doing that.
Yeah, it was just lucky. You know, everything is completely timing and stuff like that. You know, Derek Krantz, he's a pro MMA fighter that is in the UFC.
He fought on the same card with Cora one time at Legacy, and he got his eye poked super bad.
Oh, yeah. He's got over 50 MMA fights. He's a stud, dude. I've cornered him in his title fights in LFA as well, too. He's held the belts for 2 different weight classes for LFA before going to the UFC. But I gave him his jiu-jitsu ranks. And Evan Cutts, who's another MMA fighter, and black belt Johnny Bedford, he's the bare knuckle guy I told you about, and fought in the UFC as well. And Levi Mowles, who we talked about earlier, and then a black belt of mine named Donnie Blue. He's a black belt in San Antonio. He's a current airman in the Air Force. As a police officer in the Air Force, he runs a school down there, and he's got the best kids team in the network, that's for sure. And they were my first 5 black belts. And so, that was really cool. And then every 6 months after that, almost.
How many do you have now? Like 13 or something, did I see?
Correct, but 11 that I gave him to.
Okay, nice,
I got 2 in the network that are they were black belts, and they switched flags and moved from where they were at, and then joined up. Yeah, so like
that happens, man. Somewhat recently, Justin Rader joined our team.
Oh wow, really?
Yeah, I know, huge. So, what a great dude to be able to hang out with at team events, right?
Yeah, for sure. I just did a podcast with him 4 or 5 days ago. It's out already. You can check it out.
Yeah, cool. I'm gonna hit him up to come on mine too. And then yesterday I was talking to Nate Murdoch, from Northwest Arkansas, and he was like, "Bro, you got to have Johnny Bedford on the show. I want to listen to that." So
dude, I'll probably hit him up. Johnny is a character too, dude. He's an awesome guy to talk to. He's I tell people all the time, I'm just glad he's on my side. I mean, if you think about it, like of just the background of experience, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. Before training with me, he was training with Alan Moeller. This is the first American black belt out of Alliance, right? And then he got his black belt from me. I cornered him alone. He's been in more fights. He's got over 50 fights as well, too. But I cornered him in Abu Dhabi, UFC Abu Dhabi, Brazil, San Antonio. He was on the Ultimate Fighter show. My other black belt, Lynn Bentley, was on the Ultimate Fighter show. But Johnny also wrestled at Cleveland State. Same year as Stipe Miocic, who was his wrestling teammate. Grew up out of Toledo, Ohio. But that dude's got hands, bro. Like, if you ever meet him, he's got some gnarly knuckles. His face is all scarred up. He's got a lot of MMA fights. He's got high cheekbones like me, so we take those on the cheek pretty bad a lot, and the eyebrows. But man, he's fought ever since I know him. He came to Texas fighting, and I was business partners with him for a long time. He's the one who owns the majority of the headquarters of what I call BQuick Jiu-Jitsu headquarters. And we got half a dozen black belts there on any given class, and so he's just got a wealth of knowledge. Now he's the current bare knuckle 145 champ. He's got a lot of background and stories and knowledge. He's an awesome dude to get to know.
Yeah.
For sure. And he actually bought a gym from me, and he's turning it into his second location. And I mean, so he's making moves. It's one of my first 5 black belts. I can't say enough about him.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, man, you got an incredible story, Brandon. I appreciate you coming on the show and sharing it with everybody. I mean, I've kept up with you over the years, and man, you've always treated me nice, and it's good to sit down and just chat with you about what you got going on.
You too, amigo. I wish you the best, man. And
likewise.
Send me the link. I'll start checking out some of your prior podcasts and stuff like that. And
for sure, man. For sure. I just had Daniel O'Brien on. It just posted today.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Yeah, he entered the tournament blindfolded like a year and a half ago. He's from Alabama, trains with Brandon McCatherine a little bit. Yeah, but he's a pretty wild dude. 1 pans is a brown, 3rd-degree black belt now. But Carlinos will post this week. But, yeah, man, I appreciate the support. And once I get this one edited and uploaded, I'll shoot you the link.
Cool. Sounds good, man. I hope you and the lady at least get some training in. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, we're good. We're probably going to be one of those baby boomer statistics for the next baby boom. Yeah, watch out. All right, man.
Horses and some people getting babies, bro. It's one or the other.
Oh man. Well, bro, I appreciate you again. Take it easy, Brandon. I'll talk to you soon.
Take care, amigo.
See you, man.